Will you please take your seats for our keynote address? Thank you. Would you please take your seats for our keynote address? I have thought for a very long time that one of the hardest jobs there is to introduce someone who literally needs no introduction, and that is the task that I face at this moment. You heard so eloquently from Catherine and from the beautiful video, thank you David Goldstein, about the vision of the Center for Houston's Future. The mission of the Center for Houston's Future is to engage community and to think long-term and act strategically for the economic, physical, social, and cultural well-being of the Houston region. We don't have to look any farther than Southwest Houston to see living, breathing proof of such a vision, such a strategic vision, and such successful implementation. When Reverend Kirby John Caldwell became the head pastor at Windsor Village United Methodist Church in 1982, that church had 25 members. Today, it has 14,000 members and is the largest United Methodist Church in America. The Windsor Village family joined Pyramid Community Development Corporation to revitalize the area that the church serves. The result was a facility, magnificent facility that so many of you are familiar with, the Power Center, a multi-purpose complex that services and serves the community that the church serves, and brought a broad range of services from healthcare, nutrition, banking, education, and entertainment to that community. And it's hard really to go back in time mentally to 1982 and what the world was like, but this was a community that did not even have a bank in it in 1982. And look at it today. It is an example of Pastor Caldwell's ability to look over the horizon, as Ned Holmes has told us, as Gene Vaughn has told us, to look over the horizon and have not only a wonderful vision for our region, but also to figure out how to get it done. Now Pastor Caldwell, Pyramid, and Kingdom Builders Prayer Institute are doing it on a larger scale. They recently broke ground on a $180 million master planned community. The 234-acre site will include single-family residential community with facilities to address recreational, cultural, social, and spiritual needs of the community. These multifaceted solutions to our region's problems are the product of a diverse individual background. Pastor Caldwell is a native Houstonian. I am very proud to say that he is a product of the Houston Public Schools. He earned his BA from Carleton College in Minnesota, an MBA from the University of Pennsylvania Wharton School of Business. He has a master's in theology from SMU and 2 honorary law degrees that we will forgive him, one from Houston Tillotson and one from Carleton College. He is the author of the best-selling book, The Gospel of Good Success, and he's co-author of Entrepreneurial Faith. With all of these impressive achievements, it is almost a footnote in his biography that this man has served as pastor and spiritual counselor to 2 sitting United States presidents, and thus, in his own way, has touched every single person in this room. His work in the Houston region has gained widespread attention of the media, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the nightly news of all the major networks. And as the 21st century approached, Pastor Caldwell was included in Newsweek's Century Club, a list of 100 people to watch in America as America entered this millennium. With Pastor Caldwell's visionary thinking as a model, Houston is a city the world is watching for the rest of this century. Will you please help me welcome Pastor Kirby John Caldwell?
Thank you, Linda. Thank you very much. It was a very gracious introduction. To be honest with you, I enjoyed it. Pray for me. The one person who stood up as I approached the podium is my sister, Dorothea. Suzette, my wife, is on her way back from Florida, returning from a book tour. And Dorothea was scheduled to be here, but she wasn't scheduled to be at this table. But thank you, Dorothea, for being here and for standing up. Stand up again, Dorothea. That's my sister. We're both third-generation Houstonians and very happy to be so. To Chairman Martinez and to Catherine and Linda, listen, let me be very, very clear about this. We don't have time to be cute or coy. I am honored that you asked me to do this. And there are a lot of great speakers you could have asked to stand up here for 13 and a half minutes. And you asked me. So I thank you very much, and my watch is ready. There are no winners on a losing team. There are no winners on a losing team. Jeff Mosley informed me this morning that Houston has some 25 Fortune 500 companies that call Houston its home. Number 2 in the country as a city. You mentioned Ben Love earlier. I recall a speech Ben gave about 9 years ago at the River Oaks Country Club. He says, on a daily basis, over 7,500 PhDs and MDs gather on a daily basis to deliver help and hope and healing at the medical centers. Probably more than that now. NASA, known around the world. I humbly submit unto you this afternoon that the Fortune 500 companies, NASA, medical center, and all the great attributes of Houston, Texas would not be a reality today if it were not for a decision that was made by the members of this business community over 25 years ago. Now, clearly, there are a lot of components that contribute to our success, but I want to hammer one. At the risk of sounding like a pastor, touch the person next to you, say he wants to hammer one. 1 point, and that is, in terms of casting visions, to have an efficient and effective public school system for all of our students. Vision. 25 years ago, some of our business leaders, and I could name them, but I only have 11 and a half minutes left, so I won't, gathered together and basically said, listen, it sounds simple today, but it was not simple nor easy 25 years ago, and some change. They said, we cannot have a first-class economic environment if our public schools, to be blunt, suck. And what really made this vision critical is they decided we are going to help HISD in particular and all of our public schools, watch this, even though the supporters of the tax base do not look like most of the students who are receiving the education. Now again, that sounds like a no-brainer today, but 25, 27 years ago, a lot of our metropolitan areas in this country were struggling with that simple reality. And because the business community stepped forth, because HISD stepped forth, surely our public schools are not what they ought to be, but thank God they are as good as they are. Thank God they are as good as they are. Lots of stuff is going on now. About 7 years ago, I walked next to a car in Memorial, and the car began to talk to me. The car said, "You are too close. Please step back." And I thought, here I am from the north side, 5th Ward, Cashmere Gardens, over here, Memorial Drive. I better step back, as the car suggested. Marvelous technological advancements. 3 of our great Navy SEALs were 100 feet or so away from 3 pirates. And in less than 1/10 of the time it takes you to bat your eye. Incredible. bat your eye. In less than 1/10 of the time, Gene Vaughn, you could bat your eye, was the amount of time it took the bullet to leave the gun and hit the object. Phenomenal technological advancements. You could go on and on. You know them better than I do. And in light of all these awesome technological advancements, I know that as Houston puts its mind to it, we can make absolutely certain that every student receives an effective and efficient public school opportunity. I'm a big fan of private schools. I'm excited about KIPP Academy. I'm excited about a lot of the private schools and Catholic schools and religious schools and home schools around Houston. I'm excited about it. I'm thankful. Yay! But there are no winners on a losing team. If we only choose to educate those who can access the great schools and choose to ignore those who are not able to access those schools, just as a rising tide lifts all boats, so a sinking tide can and will sink all the boats. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, Caldwell, goodness gracious, we can't accept responsibility for everybody. You're absolutely right. Well, Caldwell, parents ought not have children if they're not going to take care of the children. You're absolutely right. Well, Caldwell, they spend time going to work. They ought to spend time spending time with their kids with the homework. Yes, you're absolutely right. But please pay attention to this point. We ought not penalize students for having pitiful parents. Similarly, and this is very important for us to understand. Similarly, in some of the charter schools I'm familiar with, some 50 to 75%, Judge Ewing Werline, of those students, listen to me very carefully, please, go home to parents who are either dysfunctional or totally absent. In other words, they are raising themselves. 14, 15, 16-year-old children with jobs going home to no parents. You can determine and discern the quality and the integrity of a community by how we treat our widows and our orphans and our children. I am so glad that the Houston community understands the value of an efficient and effective public school educational opportunity for each child. Our future depends upon how well we engage and educate our children. 4 minutes left. How can we do that, Caldwell? Well, real simple little remedy here. 3 little points. Point number 1, let's encourage our teachers. Let's encourage our teachers. I personally think that teachers are underpaid, particularly those who serve in underserved communities. I just think they're underpaid. So if you're not going to raise their pay, at least, take them a dinner once a quarter. We selected some schools in our place, Judge, where we just decided we're going to encourage the teachers, and once a quarter we take teachers dinners. We take children dinners. We just encourage them. You like encouragement. Well, most of us do. I think teachers should get more money, and if we can't pay them more money, at least encourage them. Number 2, wouldn't it be great, and I'm going to run out of here right after this, Ned, no, but I got to exit out of the rear here. Wouldn't it be great if every organization, every business were to adopt a school? Adopt a school. Adopt a school. What? I mean, and even put them in your budget. just a thought. It's a thought. It's a thought. I'm casting a vision. I'm casting a vision. Make sure they have the computers they need. Make sure make sure the roofs aren't leaking. Make sure there's no asbestos in the building. Make sure they don't have to hold their noses when they walk into the restroom. Make sure the food is edible. Just some fundamental basics kind of stuff. Adopt a school. Let's encourage our teachers, pay them as much as we can, number one. Number two, adopt a school. And number three, believe it or not, as I take my seat, perhaps the most controversial suggestion that I have to make is when Austin is in session, let's go in there and trumpet the cause of the least, the last, and the lost school systems in our state. Those who need our help the most, I think, are the ones who deserve the most help. Jody Lee Giles, you're the former chairman of Great Eastern Partnership. I recall with some clarity, almost 19, 20 years ago, Ned, when we the business folk, or you all the business folk, act like I'm a businessman, began to send lobbyists to Austin. I can't remember who it was, Richard, but somebody came back to a subcommittee meeting and said, my gosh, Jim, you may have been there. He said, my gosh, the lobbyists who are lobbying on behalf of the school systems are as vicious as the oil and gas lobbyists in Austin. Big money over there. And you know the drill. The rural folk vote together in Austin, and the urban folk vote together in Austin. And the rural folk always outnumber the urban folk, and it's hard to get some bills passed to promote and sustain public school education in the greater metropolitan areas in Houston. But since I'm casting a vision, let me say this using semi-Old Testament language. I decree and declare that from this day forward, every underserved school system and school shall receive the resources it needs for such a time as this, so that our students will grow up and make powerful and productive contributions to the Houston community, and will help Houston become what Houston is being called to be, and not be an eyesore or a liability on our community. If you believe that, put your hands together and let's affirm it. There are no winners on a losing team. The business community, Houston for Business, Center for Houston's Future, has always understood that. Thank you for understanding it. May we always understand it and act like it. God bless you. God bless Houston. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend, for that very inspirational speech. We have a small token of our very great appreciation to present you from the Center for Houston's Future. And it's in a transportable box. And we have a similar token for our presenting sponsor, Chevron. Would Gary Luquette please come forward and accept? Thank you very much for joining us. Now get back to work.